it does mean that people can hear all the lovely stuff that's going to happen. And as I said before, my name is Camilla Reeve and I run Pale Well Press. And we publish books which are about human rights and the environment. And under human rights, we include the whole concept of diversity and the importance of treating people as we would wish to be treated, wherever they come from and however they present themselves. And Christie's book is at the heart of that. I'm really thrilled that she asked me to publish it because, as you probably know, she is world famous, and to have a really famous writer join a press like mine, which is a very small, perfectly formed press, is a great privilege. So I'm going to give you a few bits of guideline about Zoom as best I can, because I don't know all the technology. And then I will introduce Christie and tell you how the evening's going to go. So please keep yourselves on mute while Buffy Davis and Christie Dickason are speaking, and myself. That will enable all of us to hear what's being said, and we won't get interrupted with conversations or dogs or any other interruptions. If you want to put in a response, you should be able to find the chat function somewhere on your screen. If it's a PC screen, it's near the middle at the bottom. And if you have a question, we will try and answer the questions at the end, but we might not have time. So if you've got any questions, can you put an email address or a phone number in there, a mobile phone, and then we'll get the answer back to you personally at the end if we haven't got a chance to do it in the meeting. At the end, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves so we can clap. And as we were saying earlier on to Judy, on the top right-hand side of a PC screen, the top left-hand side of an iPad, you should be able to find the thing called View. And if you click View, at the moment, if you click Speaker View, you'll see me because I'm talking. And as soon as Buffy or Christie are talking, you'll see whichever of them is talking. If you click Gallery View, you'll see a screen full of small faces, including your own. I'm recording this session, and I'm going to upload that to YouTube. So if anybody's got a problem with that, they can switch off their video so that we can't see their face. If you want to get a 20% launch discount on Christie's book, I will be putting that. I've sent most of the details to everyone who's logged on, but I will be putting that into the chat room during the meeting. And I think we're just about ready to kick off, which is marvelous. Now, as many of you know, we're in the presence of Christie Dickason, who is really a Renaissance woman. Dancer, director, choreographer, and teacher. She's written historical fiction, poetry, lyrics for music.
As you know.
Yep. And poetry, lyrics for music, newspaper articles, and works for the theatre. She's probably best known, certainly to me, for her internationally published novels, Quicksilver, The King's Daughter, The Fire Master's Mistress, and many others. And I know I've got Jane Sherwin on the call, and Jane is, like me, very keen on Christie's books. Her latest book, however, Christie's latest book, Fur Beneath the Skin, is a bit of a change of plan. It's a diversity-themed historical novel, which she originally wrote for young adults, but people have said to us that it really has a message that everyone will enjoy and benefit from. And it's an incredibly exciting plot. The novel's young hero doesn't know whether he is a werewolf or not. This is set in Jacobean times, when people believed that different members of the community were possessed by spirits, and he is accused of being a werewolf and knows that he has to get rid of his wolf before it kills him and the girl he loves. So he goes on the run, And we're going to hear something about all of that. And later this evening, I'll ask Christie to tell us more about what inspired her to write the book. You'll find it's very close to home. Now, we're delighted this evening that Buffy Davis, who's a very well-known actress, will be reading extracts from Fur Beneath the Skin. Buffy's a friend of Christie, and her varied acting career includes working at the Old Vic with Alan Ayckbourn in his most recent play, The Divide, the National Theatre with Stephen Sondheim, Young Vic with Harry Enfield, and last September, she was in BBC's Life opposite Alan Steadman. She's also the voice of Jolene Archer in The Archers on BBC Radio 4. So, you know about Christie, you know about the book, and you know about Buffy, but you haven't actually heard the story yet. And now it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Buffy Davis. Over to you.
Good evening. This is the intro for the first extract I'm reading. Accused of being a werewolf and of killing a child, the young hero is being held prisoner in a barn. He's suffering from amnesia and can't defend himself against his captors. Sleepy birds stir in the rafters. Mice and rats scuttle across the floor. Horses thump in their stalls. My body has turned from a single ache into being on fire. I raise my head. My heart begins to hammer. The girl slips into my stall from the shadows, bringing her scent with her. How did you get in? I whisper. Secret way. Hole in the tap room wall. Can't stay long. The priest has arrived. An exorcist. He will see you after he has supper and rests from his ride. I might not see another dawn. I'm Cat, by the way. She squats in front of me. Hello, wolf. My heart thuds even harder against my ribs. You shouldn't have come back. She holds out smooth, strong young arms that gleam in the lantern light. I want to be certain what you are. Look, no bumps. She turns her arm. Evidence that you are not a monster. Master Grillet frightens me far more than you do. Makes my neck prickle and my arms come up in goosebumps when he stares at me a certain way when he meets me alone. She leans forward to put her forearm within reach of my hands. Go on. Feel. No bumps. I stretch my fingers to touch her, but curl them again. The sight and smell of her so close makes me feel hollow with loss. I'm going to die without knowing what it feels like to act the man. I can't even touch her and feel it. Bite me. She presses the side of her hand against my lips. It's warm on my mouth.
Oh, here we are.
But don't open my teeth. She presses harder. Go on. Prove that you're some kind of wolf. In spite of myself, with eyes open and locked on hers, I part my jaws. I feel the shock of my warm tongue against the side of her hand. I close my lips on her flesh. The sharp points of my dog teeth dent her skin. My nose is filled with her scent. Go on, she whispers. If you are truly a werewolf, bite me. This is the second passage I'm going to read, which is entitled Singing with the Wolf. On the run from accusations of being a werewolf, Rafe stays with Dr. John from Padua. But the doctor plans to dissect both him and a captive wolf to see if Rafe is a werewolf. I feel a moment of child terror. Strange bed, strange room. My mouth feels like an old owl's nest. My head aches. I lie spread-eagled, naked on a table. My arms and feet are securely tied with rope to the forelegs. I turn my head. The wolf lies on a second table, stretched out on its back as I am, legs tied to each corner. The skin of its belly slung like a hammock below heaving ribs. Beyond it stands the empty cage. A box of fresh sawdust sits between the two tables. My head falls back. I am alone again, abandoned by my new friends. I am a blemish on the universe, a treason against nature. Alone, except for the wolf, and I'm not certain of our relationship. Good morrow, the doctor says cheerfully as he enters, bringing a waft of civet and lavender. I trust you slept soundly. He sets his clinking instrument case on a small table near the tied-down wolf. He goes back and locks the parlour door. The door key goes into the right-hand pocket of his breeches, under the white butcher's apron he wears. Well, knowing where the key is does me no good, however, if I can't move. Can't you trust me? Did you need to use a conjurer's trick on me? I demand. My eyes run over him again. 2 pistols are visible. The doctor smiles. Blame yourself. He begins to set out his knives on the small table. I hear the chink of blades and the wooden clunk of a mallet. As eager as you appeared yesterday, I noticed a slight reluctance in you at times, which led me to fear you might flinch at our final voyage of discovery. He wags his head ruefully. In your place, I might even hesitate. I've merely helped you remain true to your claimed curiosity, tied you to resist your own weakness. With a scoop, like one for measuring grain, he sprinkles a thick layer of sawdust below my table. I swear I will not flinch. Free me. I only want to learn. Don't fear, the doctor says kindly. I'll explain each new discovery to you until the very last moment that you can understand. He opens a jar from his case. Trust me. Helpless rage boils up. My thoughts feel as sharp as broken glass. He was playing with me, enjoying controlling me. He knew all along that I suspected him, that I only pretended to obey. He knew all along that it was pretense on both sides. He picks up a knife. In a moment, my flesh would part. The knife will open the gaping hole through which my life will drain away into the sawdust. I look at the wolf for inspiration. It gives a keening exhalation. I fumble for an idea. You said yesterday that you will search today for the place in me where my soul lives. What do you hope to prove if you find it? Whether you are man or beast. Man or werewolf. Man has a soul. A beast does not. Never? I asked, still fumbling. Never. A beast is a mere machine of flesh and bone. The doctor cannot hide his pleasure in instruction even now. Only man has a soul which brings love of art, of learning, and of God. The wolf begins to struggle against its bonds. It whimpers and starts to give off a strong, feral smell. Keep him talking. The man must not begin to look for my soul or for anything else. Then I have an idea. So if you find the home of my soul, I say, you will find nothing at all occupying that same place in the wolf. He nods approval. You understand clearly. If you are human, you have a soul. The wolf, a mere animal, does not. The wolf whines again. Its smell intensifies. Be my ally, I will it. I'm about to ask the impossible of you. I force the appearance of eager enthusiasm. Well, I have a contrary hypothesis for you. Doctor raises bushy eyebrows in the raddled cherub face. Will you try and prove me wrong? Yes, that the wolf has a soul.
Sorry to be late, but I'm glad I'm here.
He snorts in derision. Fanciful nonsense. But he sets down the blade and turns back to me with interest. Go on. I keep my eyes off the set down blade. You said that having art is proof of having a soul. Correct. What is music an art? Of course. Well, I will prove that the wolf has music and therefore art and therefore a soul. I defy you to prove any such thing. His blue eyes sparkle with a challenge. Well, I think you fear being proved wrong. I imitate his smile. Give me the rest of the day. The doctor hesitates, then nods. I have the rest of the day to prove my nonsensical hypothesis. It is nonsense, of course, but I have made a start with a relatively clear head. The doctor did as I asked. In spite of occasional waves of dizziness from the drug, it feels like progress. On the other hand, the doctor is armed with 2 pistols. Before freeing me, he brought a dead chicken and a pan of water, as I asked. He loosened my bonds, then locked himself in the empty cage with his book and pen. He laid the 2 pistols in easy reach on the cage floor. Don't imagine I won't shoot you and the wolf if you make a move in my direction. He is as safe from me as if I were in the cage. I struggled to untie myself the rest of the way, making myself find the patience to pick laboriously at the knots. My clothes are piled in one corner. I put them on. The wolf begins to pant. A pale amber eye flutters open and then closes again. I untie it and lower it to the floor. The hindquarters first, and then the rusty head. As I heave at the forequarters, wild eyes open and swivel to fix on me. Help me, I beg silently. I need you as my accomplice, not my enemy. 2 against 1 might win, even with the pistols. It slides down onto the floor as flat as a wolfskin rug. Do you mean to prove that a hearth rug has art? The doctor's voice holds cheerful contempt. Nevertheless, he leans forward with curious interest. The wolf raises its head dizzily. Wake up, brother in trouble. I need your help. The wolf convulses away from me. Its black brows knit in a frown. I watch the thoughts behind its eyes, as if the animal could speak. I must get to my feet. What is wrong? My legs buckle. I fall. Slowly, I find my muscles. Heave my four quarters into the air. Brace on my front feet. Wait while the world spins around my head. Now, hind quarters up. Oh, tail too heavy to lift. Ears hang like dead leaves. I must move. I must run. Her nose is awake. I smell anger and fear. A man afraid. That means danger. I see the wolf look around in confusion. Its lips lift in a half snarl, ears back, its tail pressed flat against its legs. The wolf staggers to the pan of water and drinks it all. It lies down against the locked parlour door, looking from me to the doctor and back again. There are two men with me. One in my former cage. I smell the stink of his fear, but he is beyond my reach. The other sits on the floor, not far from me, with lowered head and averted eyes, like a pup. With one eye on him, I rise and stagger around the walls of this new cage, measuring them. I bump the walls with my shoulder, pretending not to watch him. He does not move. I pause to sniff. A male cat has peed in this corner. I lift my leg and mark over his scent. The wolf trots in circles around the walls, avoiding the cage from which the doctor watches, and makes occasional notes in his book. I sit without moving on the floor. The wolf stops once to sniff at me. The doctor looks genuinely alarmed. It will tear you apart. I wait motionless. If the doctor is right, I prefer that death to dying slice by slice under the doctor's knives, however painlessly. The wolf moves away. I offer it the chicken with my foot. Come then, eat. I pull my foot back. My outstretched leg seems a more tempting meal than the damp, limp-necked hen. The wolf streaks across the floor, snatches the chicken, retreats to the far wall, and turns its back to eat. I hear bones crack between its teeth. It looks over its vast shoulder at me, then buries its muzzle in the feathers again. When it has eaten all of the chicken, except for the long wing feathers, the wolf begins to circle the room again. A nose touches my ear from behind. A large russet-streaked head moves into the side of my vision. Slowly, I raise a hand to offer it for examination. The wolf sniffs at my fingers, then pushes its long, blunt muzzle close to my face. I close my mind to its teeth and make myself sit very still, inhaling and exhaling slowly as the animal tests my breath. The wolf peels back its lips and nips my shirt sleeve. No! I exclaim before I can stop myself. The startled animal shies away. It pauses in the center of the room and stares into my eyes. Its head is higher than mine and its gaze feels like the pressure of a hand. I pat the floor as if inviting a dog to play. The wolf stares at me in astonishment. I pat the floor again. It does not respond, but stands staring at me. It walks towards me, stands in front of me for a moment, still staring. It sits, shoulder to shoulder. Cautiously, I lay my hand on its nape. A pale amber eye turns my way. I scratch behind the ears, as if the wolf were a huge hound. To my amazement, the animal settles beside me. I continue to scratch. I stroke the rough, rust-grey head, then scratch some more. Filled with a deep, astonishing sense of calm in spite of my circumstances, I begin to hum, a pleasant buzzing in the bones of my face. How long will you try to delay the inevitable? Demands the doctor. Silence, I say with authority, or you will be the cause of any delay. He settles back inside the safety of his cage. Now we come to it, I tell the wolf silently. Forgive me rushing you. I know it's day, there's no moon, and I don't know how this will sound. I begin to sing, softly. My voice climbs. The wolf cocks its ears. No doubt it can also hear the drumming of my heart. My voice climbs, step by step. I try to capture the mournful mode of the wolf's howl. The wolf looks away, then straight back at me. It may be embarrassed or confused. I hope it can read my good intent. Please, I implore silently. I sing the climbing scale again through the stretched, eerie notes that had pinned my heart 2 days before. The wolf stands up and looks intently into my eyes. The muscles of its throat quiver. Its throat quivers again. I hear a faint, hollow whine. Oh, please, I beg. Holding my eyes, the wolf stretches its head forward and makes a hollow trumpet of its muzzle. Its jaws quiver. The quiver becomes a faint howl. The howl grows louder. The fur of its ruff trembles. The wolf raises its head higher and higher as its voice climbs. My voice begins to climb again. It grows louder as the wolf grows louder. I slide my notes into the gaps in the wolf's song. Our voices intertwined, weaving together. Listen, I whisper to the doctor. Miraculously, in full daylight, the wolf and I are howling together. Not nonsense, after all. We howl again. I adjust my tune to that of the wolf. Our voices climb yet again, entwined in harmony, but always on different notes. The wolf throws back its head farther and farther until the hollowed muzzle points at the sky. Its voice resonates in my body. My own howl vibrates in my chest and throat and scours deep into my belly. Listen, I whisper again in wonder. Mingled with that of the wolf, my voice slides upward, approaches dangerous disorder, finds order again. Each time we arrive at the top of a climb, our voices come together in a moment of perfection. Then comes a moment of perfect stillness. Our music runs round the inside of my skull, polishing it smooth and clean. I look into the animal's eyes and feel my way upwards through our shared music. This unbelievable song. We howl again for the pure pleasure of it. Our shared song is an opening into my profound being. I am a pipe, a conduit. My voice pours out through it. If this is my double nature, I glory in it.
Thank you, Buffy. That was absolutely brilliant. I really love that passage. And the significance of some of the pieces that Buffy has already read is this enormous sense of closeness to the animal kingdom, the scents and sounds that the hero can experience. And I'd like Christie to talk to us for a while about what it is that made her write this extraordinary book and what she hopes to achieve. Christie, would you like to share some of your thoughts with the audience?
First of all, I would like to check that everyone can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Personal trauma made me write it. I spent the next 40 years avoiding it. And in fact, I wrote 9 other novels avoiding it. It is probably the most important book I've written about diversity. My fantasy characters are real because I am one of them. I am a non-supernatural werewolf. Only I call it something different. Temporal lobe epilepsy. And my attacks began when I was 32. Hospital, dying, do blue lights, sirens, but the doctors were convinced and confused. They sent me home, and I was so afraid and lonely. Then I knew my experience was real. And then I had the good luck to meet a doctor who gave me a label. I wasn't alone after all. An astonishing 1 to 10% of us lie somewhere on the migraine epileptic range. I first feel the tiny stirring of my imagination on the desire to reach out and communicate with others who have got their first things too. Then I started thinking about historical fantasy. Was it so fantastical I'm what other creatures would, besides the werewolf, where what was it that maybe I found that I was led on by diversity, embracing the other. Oops. Including gender specific and gender assignment, and the differently abled. As one of my characters says, there is room in the truth. I realized that fantasy and reality don't change through the ages, no matter what you call them. And I decided to make it a historical fact, a novel. Bingo. I had it. After 40 years, I had the experience and the first shape of a novel.
Christie has asked me to read some more of her statement. Thank you very much, Christie. So when you hear these words, this is what she's written. At that point, I decided to switch genre to books for young adults. At the time when their personalities were taking shape, I felt they had the greatest need. Furthermore, I was writing a novel, not a tract or a biography. Any message was disguised in adventure and suspense. In fact, this book is unique, so far as I know at least. So what is temporal lobe epilepsy, which my hero Rafe has, as I do? The condition does not cause total lack of consciousness or falling, as in falling sickness, which is epilepsy as we generally know it. It does cause memory loss of the near past, sensations of smell and pain, and heightened senses which persist beyond the episodes. Its symptoms can often be misdiagnosed, as happened in my case. Rafe's experience of wolfishness is my own. Like him, I have groped for memories, and I've sniffed with delight. I know I'm lucky to have got off relatively lightly. I haven't had my purse or clothes stolen, for example, though I have felt constriction and the urge to tear off my clothes. I've learned to live with the fear and ignorance of others and to accept the gifts, in my case, the heightened senses. Now I would like us to hear from Buffy again. She has some examples that Christie has written in the book about what it feels to go through one of these episodes. Over to you, Buffy.
Thank you. Yep. Several scenes in the book show readers what an attack of TLE feels like. In this next extract I'm about to read, Grillet, who's a farmer, is accusing Rafe of being a werewolf. A priest has been called to exorcise the demon from Rafe. Grillet's fist thrusts a torch in my face. Look how he still turns away. The demon turns from light. I force myself to look at the light. Everything begins to jump and judder in the flames of the torch. The priest, the little altar beyond him, the barn itself. The belch of terror rises from my stomach again. Again, it jams against the underside of my vocal cords. The giant fist begins to tighten again around my chest. The beast, it comes into sight, closer. And this time, I can't fight. I brush against him. Beast, you will kill me if you come now. The barn, the floor beneath my knees, the air around me swirls again like oil on water. I become part of the clamor around me. This time, I can't fight. To fall into the darkness. I climb onto his shoulder. The tightening fist presses the beast into my head. A wolf grows like coral in the spaces in my bones. Its muscles lap around mine and worm through the fibers of my being like fungus under tree bark. The fist squeezes my chest and closes my throat so that only a thread of air gets through. The nail of pain drives through the dull ache into my skull. The thread of air grows thinner. I feel the muscles of my face and scalp shift. I feel my limbs lengthen, my ears pull back against my skull. The beast reshapes me in his own image. The fist loosens to make room for the beast. Room inside me. All sounds grow sharp edges like broken glass. The bubble of horror spreads up into my throat. But I have no words. I am the wolf.
Wow, that was just amazing. So me again, I'm carrying on with Christie's statement. She chose, she says, to write about these other characters because they, as well as the werewolf, had possible medical explanations. These are people whom you will meet in the book, and some of them help Rafe in his journey. There's a changeling, possibly autistic. The age for diagnosing autism in many children is the same age as changeling becomes apparent, 2 years old. And some symptoms are similar, like not speaking, or speaking your mind without filter, or total recall of certain things. One of the characters is seen as a devil's child with a split muzzle like a goat. Now he would be said to have an orofacial cleft or a cleft palate. There's a hermaphrodite who would now be said to be gender ambiguous or gender fluid. A still hotly debated percentage of us lies somewhere between clear-cut female and clear-cut male. But the subject of hermaphrodites and gender ambiguity was not discussed until the end of the 20th century. Then there is a dwarf and a giant. Equality laws now bolster their ongoing fight, but in history as now, they have prejudice against them. Throughout history, people have generally feared what they don't understand, and what they feared, they tried to destroy. Today, we do damage in our own way. Even if we don't like to admit it, we often secretly fear those who are different. We distance them. We pass well-made laws to protect them while drawing attention to the difference. We call the police or doctors or the social services. We prescribe therapy or drugs or send the sufferers to special institutions. We call them by names which have negative sounding dis or mal or psycho stuck on. We tie ourselves in knots, trying to use language that doesn't offend anyone, while accurately describing reality. It all adds up to a lot of secret fear. I aim particularly at the thousands of children who are excluded from school, who know they are secretly different from the norms projected by social media, films, magazines, ads everywhere, and have no one to talk to. Like Rafe the werewolf and the rest of my characters, I am one of many outsiders, though not supernatural. We still fight for a place in the world, but communities of acceptance are growing. It doesn't take magic to explain us. If I have final words to say, they are simple to say and harder to do. See difference, not defect. See and respect the human being inside. Thank you very much, everyone. Apologies for the cough. Now, if I could ask you all to unmute yourselves, we can clap Buffy and Christie and their wonderful magic this evening. Whoa! Hooray! Hey! Well done, and thank you all for being so amazingly quiet. Oh, that's fantastic. Marvelous. So that's all good. And I know that many of you may have questions and things you want to contribute. Please feel free to unmute if you haven't already done so. If you put questions into the chat room, please add some kind of identification, either a phone number or an email address, and that will enable us to see who's talking and who wants an answer. At the moment, if you look in the chat room, you will only find one thing. You've all been incredibly restrained, and that is a link which will enable you to buy the book at a discount at the moment. So can anyone who has a question, I'm going to put my screen into gallery view now, either raise their hand or use the reactions button at the bottom, or in some other way, let me know they have a question. Catherine's iPad, I can see you raising a hand.
Hello, Christie, you know I love your book. You very kindly gave me a copy. I read it within a day and a half, I think. It's absolutely wonderful. Buffy, you read it so well. My question is there going to be an Audible book? I think it'd be wonderful. Yes. Maybe I'm jumping the gun, but that would be amazing.
It is.
I agree, Catherine. I think so too. And I've put that to Christie.
And Christie has agreed.
Yep.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that. It's a lot more time to produce, a lot of studio time and editing, but it is something we've got in mind. And there's an ebook already. So for anyone who wants to put it on their Kindle, there's one on Amazon that you can download. Any other questions? Yeah. Hello there, Susan.
Yes,
Susan Salt.
hello. Yes, here from California. I would just like to actually learn more, Camilla, about how this book gets read. So meaning that, marketing opportunities, will it, and how in the United States might it be accessed?
Right. Well, the simple answer at the moment is that you can get it on Amazon, either as an ebook or a paperback. There may well be other people like Barnes and Noble and so on selling it at the moment, because quite a lot of our books end up on their shelves. Mm-hmm. But what we are actually beginning to think is that we might use contacts in the States and market it as a manuscript over there and see if anyone wants to option that. But Christie and I decided we would talk about that once we'd got the paperback produced. And if any American publishers want to do that, we can sell the rights to them for publication in the States, and that will probably get a much better reception than simply social media. Susan, if you have any thoughts about that and you want to email Christie or me, that would be brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
First, I want to say hello, Christie from Boston.
Hi. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Alfred's here too.
Hi.
Hi. Wonderful reading. That was just lovely to hear the liveliness in the book and the wonderful characters. So clear. The reading really gave us a picture of especially the scene with the doctor and the wolf and
Yes.
Rafe. You could really see the doctor kind of quivering in his cage as you read his voice. It was wonderful. And I want to know, Camilla, you've posted the Palewell Press website information. Does that mean we could just buy the book directly from you? I'd rather give you the money than Amazon.
Well, that would be good, but one of the problems is that it will cost me about 15 quid to send it to you.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Well,
easier if you live. I have a facility on my website where people can pay extra if they live abroad, but it's really fiddly. And it might be easier if you live in Australia or Canada or the United States to buy it from Amazon. It's lovely of you to ask. Thank you.
I can wait until I see Christie again and get it from her, maybe.
You could indeed. She has copies as well. If you buy the copies at the moment from me, if you're in the UK, then you'll get signed copies because Christie is busy signing a great batch of them. But to be honest, the story is as much an excitement for me as a signed copy. It is a really gripping story, and it leaves a lovely feeling in your mind when you've read it.
I imagine it does because I know the other books too.
Yeah, they have a kind of hope and vision about them which lingers and I think changes people, makes them feel better. Yep. Sorry, is there anybody else who wishes to ask a question? Bear in mind that I can only see one screen at a time, so if I miss your hand, you might want to say something. And if you say something, you will hop onto the front screen. Anybody else? Yeah, Joe?
Yeah.
Jane?
Janie.
Janie.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Camilla, for hosting this so beautifully. Buffy, wonderful reading there. I was gripped by it all the way through. And Christie, it's just gorgeous. I was just thinking when you said that it leaves such a lovely feeling in the mind, is there likely to be a sequel? Yeah. Are we going to be treated to any more? Yeah. Not putting any pressure on that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Ah, brilliant. That is really good to know. Thank you. Then thank you again. An absolutely gorgeous evening so far. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, I don't know if we have any more questions, but I'm happy to take some. Otherwise, we can. I would urge you to have a look at if you're in the UK, you have a look at the chat. You will find the link in there. But whatever you do, will you help us by telling your friends about the book? Social media is all very well, but personal recommendation is one of those things, you know, like I took a book round to Christie the other day and she gave me one that she thought was good. And you know, when your friend says, try this, that it's worth trying. And that's what I'm hoping people will do as a result of tonight. And we build one of those organic slow burns that really gets a book out there. Because I'm afraid Palewell Press is a small press and an independent one, and we won't be able to spend money on billboards, but what we can do is put this out there as best we can with the community of everyone who's interested in it, all taking their share in publicizing this incredible book. Christie, is there anything more you would like to say before we wind up tonight?
No.
Well, it's then falls to me to say thank you so much to Buffy for reading brilliantly and all the characters coming alive, Rafe and Kat and all of them. To Christie for bringing us this incredible book, and to all of you for dialing in from all over the place and giving us your support. I feel really privileged to be part of this. And now I think it's okay if you want to unmute and say anything personal to Christie, but after a few minutes, I will close the session. Feel free to use the opportunity to talk to her if you want to, but other than that, yes, Catherine? You're just saying goodbye. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm not good at Zoom. Thank you very much. It's been brilliant. Lots of love, Christie. Bye.
No.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Christie doesn't look
Bye-bye, Christie. Thank you very much. And
Bye,
look,
Christie.
really
You're absolutely brilliant. Christie and Buffy, brilliant, lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. Absolutely
Yes.
wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful.
See you
no.
soon. See
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Absolutely brilliant.
Lots
Thank
of
you.
love.
Good night.
Night night.
Good night.
Thank you, Christie.
Good
Lovely.
night. Good night, Buffy. Thank
And,
you.
Good night.
and to Tom and to Emma.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for a lovely evening.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you.
Genius as always.
They'll see this evening.